Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Honest HR Nitrous. I am Bill, the company's expert. Thank you for joining me today. This is the live stream I do a couple of times a week where I don't have an agenda. I simply am here to answer your questions. So if you have a question about job search, anything like that, this is the venue for us to talk about it. And the title of this episode, episode 79, if you can believe it, we've done 79 of these, is Between Jobs? Let's fix that. Ask me anything, live Q&A. That's right, anything at all, no matter what it is, and I will answer it for you. You could ask me the meaning of life, and I will give you the one true answer right here today. That's how it goes. And as always, there is a shout out to my YouTube channel members. Membership has its privileges. And to my Patreons, to my Super Thanks donors, and to you, thank you for being here. You're doing some self-improvement, so that's awesome. That is the ticket to success. So I am just waiting for questions to roll on in. And we talked about salary this morning. I just got off like a 2-hour live stream or whatever it was where we were talking about salary. So there's no end to the depth of that topic. I once taught an entire course in university and business school on, it was called total compensation. And we didn't even scratch the surface in that course, an entire course on compensation. We didn't even get into things like executive compensation, which is just nuts. You have to know finance for one to be able to understand it. And big topic. So there was a lot there. But, there's a lot of people that are between jobs right now. And like I was saying, in the last live stream, if you've been rejected for a job, what a lot of young people do is they take that to be some kind of personal rejection and statement about their value and their ability to be employed. If they feel unemployable or they feel of no value, and that nothing could be further from the truth. It's just, you could forgive especially young people for coming to that conclusion because that's how it feels. But what's actually going on is that, first of all, it's a numbers game. That's the number one thing everyone needs to know about job search. It's a numbers game. The other thing is that, like the example I always say, you could go to one job interview and the employer takes one look at you and they go, nope, absolutely not. That's not what we're looking for. Absolutely no way. And then you go to another job interview with a different employer and, you're the same person. You have the same education, the same experience, the same skills. You pretty much answer job interview questions more or less the same way. But they look at you and they go, yes, we want you. Now what's changed? Nothing. The only thing that's changed is the employer, right? It's entirely, not about you. It's entirely about them, right? And their perceptions of what has value and what doesn't. And that includes things like they're only looking for people that are gullible, that can have the wool pulled over their eyes, that they can be mistreated and exploited, and they will stick around because they won't recognize it as such. You know what I mean? And that wasn't you. And, if that's the situation, it's probably a good thing that they didn't pick you. So yeah, there are 11 people. Get in the chat, ask me questions, because if you are seeing my beautiful face right now, you should be able to see a chat box somewhere in the vicinity of my face, depending on what device you're watching this on. And get in the chat, let me know what you're struggling with, what you're wondering about. And if you've been a subscriber to my channel for any amount of time, you should be able to do that. Yeah. But that's the thing about job search. I mean, it's also to combine, things, is that it's a period of our lives when we feel at our lowest. It's one of the toughest times of our lives when we're between jobs. We are stressed, we are uncertain about things, and it's coincidental that at that moment, that's when you have to appear confident, and like you're on your A game, And for a lot of people, nothing could be further from the truth. So if that's the situation you find yourself in, just remember, you're not alone. Okay, that's actually typical. End Timer is here. End Timer 2020 says, if a job posting requests your resume and cover letter, after it is received, how long is an average return time you think for an interview invitation if they choose to offer one? I don't think there's any way to say. It depends on the company. What's the average time? I would say maybe 3 to 4 days. That would not surprise me if that turned out to be the average time. And I would say 3 to 4 days from the end of their search, right? Now, the end of their search could be 48 hours after they post it. It really depends, right? This process is actually evolving all the time. And right now, it is evolving further because the big thing right now is AI. Now, what I would say to you, End Timer, is who cares? It doesn't matter, because what you're going to be doing, or what you should be doing, to maximize your chances of getting hired is not applying for something and then waiting for the phone to ring. You're going to be applying for something and moving on, okay? You're going to be always looking forward. Now, if somebody calls you and they want to bring you in for an interview, great. But unless that's happening, you're moving forward, okay? If the company has called you to bring you in for an interview, great. But if you've applied, you're not devoting any more energy to them. You're not thinking about them anymore. You're moving forward. There are plenty of fish in the sea. There's plenty of opportunities out there. Even if you just stuck with posted jobs, there's going to be a lot that you can put yourself forward for, because there's a lot that you can do. Some things more specialized than others, but there's going to be a lot of things out there, right? Now, if you included all the hidden jobs and you pursued all of them, the sky's the limit. Right? So the last thing you want to be doing is stopping and waiting and wondering why the phone's not ringing. Okay, that's figuratively. That's what you don't want to be doing. Okay? So however long it takes these people to return your call or respond to you, I don't know, and I don't care. It really doesn't matter. If they want to talk to you, you're available. If they want you to come down for an interview, great. Other than that, you're moving forward. Tarot, if I'm saying that correctly, Tarot says, hi, I have a question. I'm between jobs. I worked for customer service manager in trucking company, very well known. I have done human resources. Everyone tells me I have great resumes, but I just keep on getting rejected. Okay. Well, congratulations, Tarot. First of all, you're normal. Okay. That happens to everybody. I'm not sure what kind of results you're expecting, but if you did an average of 200 job applications to get one interview, that would not be atypical, okay? Depending on who you are, what you're looking for, how specialized you are, in what industry you're in, the region you're in, and other factors, the ratio might be even bigger than that, Now, the thing is, these days, and I mean right now as opposed to 5 years ago, you really need to be customizing your resume for everything you apply to, okay? That's just how the job market is now. And that's because of AI. AI has done that. It used to be extremely labor intensive to customize your resume. It was a manual process. And, you could work several hours on it. Same with a cover letter. I don't know if it would take you several hours to do a cover letter, but it would take you a while. You could not apply for 100 jobs in a day if you were customizing your resumes. Well, now that AI is here, now that ChatGPT and there are other more specialized tools out there, you can apply for 100 jobs in a day that are all customized. So that means your resume has been tailored to the job description to reflect, what they said they care about and they're interested in. That's what you speak to, right? Okay, so gone are the days where you have a resume that maybe you paid a professional resume writer for, and it's the perfect summary of you, and you're very proud of it and you're very attached to it. and you don't want to mess with it because you paid big dollars. I mean, I did this back in the day. I paid 4 figures for like a resume, for a resume writer to write me a resume. It was brilliant, but things don't work like that anymore. Certainly for jobs that are less than management level, it doesn't work like that anymore. Even manager level jobs, So you're going to want to customize it, and it's how you can make it as similar as possible to what the job description is saying the requirements are, and you can speak to those things. That's really going to determine who they bring in. So anyway, that's a technical sort of thing, but being rejected, just remember, Tarot, being rejected, it has absolutely no reflection of who you are as a person, how employable you are, how valuable you are. It's just a numbers game first and foremost. And the second thing you got to know is that, it's a case of being a match for what the employer happens to be looking for. Now, if you worked in HR, if you worked in recruitment and selection in HR, you would know this, right? That's what it's about. And people could be looking for some really weird stuff, and they often are. And so if you get rejected, it's no kind of statement of, your employability or your value. You know what I'm saying? Brownie says, what are the best soft skills to help with the longevity of a job? What are some things we can do on our own to improve those soft skills? Okay, great question. Now you're talking about once you have a job and you're now employed and you want to be employed there a very long time, what can you do to ensure that you stay there a long time? That's my understanding of the question you're asking. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm responding to. Well, getting along with people is going to be the biggest, most valuable thing, right? So that's part communication skills, that's part emotional intelligence, that's part just organizational behavior. It's several things. That's going to be a big factor. And some of that, at least look, in my opinion, some of that is hardwired, like what personality type you are. You just think a certain way. Some people are very intuitive. Other people are very explicit. They need everything spelled out for them. Other people really aren't. They read into everything. They read between the lines. You know what I mean? Some people are very, very particular on exactly how they want every little thing done, and they want other people to specify all of that. Other people really don't like that. You know what I mean? So there's some things that are just hardwired. One of the things that helped me was recognizing that there are many different types of people, right? That not only is there different backgrounds, like you can have people from sales and people from IT, or accounting, like two polar opposites, sales and accounting, tend to be very different personality types with different perspectives, right? Different habits, different work styles, different communication styles, different collaboration styles. They're different. And the biggest thing I learned was to respect all these. And I really didn't do that until I had their value shown to me in like a very obvious way. It was like a slap in the face where I failed at something and they succeeded in it. And I was like, okay, how the hell did you do that? And I see what they did. And it's like, oh, okay. So then you develop a respect. You're like, I see the value in doing it your way now. I get it, right? Until I had those experiences, I really didn't respect people that weren't like me, that had different personality style types and came from different backgrounds and stuff like that. So that really helps. It helps you interact with other people. It helps you be okay, like understand that people communicate and operate differently than you do. Because in an organization, you're going to be thrown together with every type of person. And getting along with people that are just like us is easy. Anybody can do that. Like people that are just like you, it just clicks, right? The way you speak, the way you communicate, the way you act, your preferences, bam, they're the same. Easy. The challenge is interoperating with people that are quite a bit different from you. They don't have the same opinions. They don't work the same way. They don't communicate the same way. They don't, divide up a job with you the same way you would, that's the challenge. So the better you are at that, the easier it will be, the longer you will stay before wanting to quit, and the more valued you will be by others around you, and they will want you to stay and maybe promote you or something like that. End Timer says, thank you. You're welcome, End Timer. You're going to be fine, Syed says, hi, everyone. Remy says, is it possible to negotiate a salary higher than the salary posted in the job description? Absolutely. But there's salary is very complicated. Like, there's a lot of principles, like all stacked on top of each other. So you have to know how it all works, usually, for it to work. Syed says, I'm asking what types of experience I should have for a service advisor. What do you mean service advisor? Like, what industry are you in? Let's start with that, and I'll see if I can help you. You're welcome, Tara. And you're welcome, Brownie. Get in the chat. Let me know. In the meantime, while we're waiting for more questions to roll on in, check out that course. That's where I put all my advice all in one place. For people that are just starting out or people that just want the whole thing in one place, check that out. That teaches you how to apply for posted jobs. It also teaches you how to apply for all the hidden jobs. Because a fact that I apparently never tire of repeating is that all the jobs you see out there that are posted, that's only 20% of all the jobs that are actually out there. You're seeing 20% of all the jobs that are out there. Only 20% of jobs are posted. Don't take my word for this. Go and verify that on your own. Do some research. The other 80% of jobs are not posted. They're referred to as hidden jobs. They're not really hidden. It's just that they're not posted on the internet, right? Or in a public place. And that's where the good jobs tend to be. And that's also where you have substantially less competition. If you're applying for posted jobs, it's very competitive because you've got something like 80% of the job seekers all competing for those 20% of jobs that are posted. So it's very competitive. That's why you get hundreds and hundreds of applicants for every job. Now, you can still play that game and win. It still is possible. But the hidden job is this gold mine, for a lot of people, especially if you're open to learning the basics of networking. And, there are extroverted people that are very good at networking. There's also introverted people that are very good at networking. And you can do networking many, many different ways, right? For example, social networking is something that appeals to a lot of introverts, and you can use it to your advantage to a degree to get jobs. And I don't mean connecting to recruiters. That's not what I'm talking about. So anyway, if you're interested in learning that stuff, check out that course also, because that's where I put my recommendation for how to do all that stuff. That will change your career. It'll give you another way of getting hired, find the good jobs. I used the exact same method relatively recently to start up my consulting business. So that's how I got all my clients. So check it out. Anyway, I've got some free stuff on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist called How to Tap the Hidden Job Market. So there's some stuff there. And I have a video linked in the description box below this live stream. There's actually two videos of mine that are linked. One is called Hidden Job Market. The other one is called How Successful People Get Jobs. So check those out if you are interested in learning about this kind of thing. I learned this stuff years ago. It totally changed my career and it changed my outlook on things. Okay, Alwyn is back. Alwyn says, hi. Hi, Alwyn. Mel says, I'm 48, between jobs, have experienced ageism, even though not supposed to happen. Oh, yeah. All those isms happen. Like, that's kind of the point of job, recruitment and selection, is to, like, select people. You've got to make decisions. I prefer you over you. It's not all scientific in the sense that, it can be supported through data. It's just people's preferences, and they hire who they like, it's just that simple. Do you recommend a functional resume in this case? Not necessarily, no. No, I don't. I know what you're getting at. Mel, you're wanting to not put dates and years and things like that on your resume so that people can't eliminate you because of that. Listen, what I would recommend, look, totally up to you, okay? But is if you're 48, you need to tune into the hidden job market. You need to start getting jobs through networking because that's just how it rolls. That's just how it goes. Usually people, when they start out, they do the default thing, which is look at, the classifieds, look at the posted job market. As you get through your career, you maybe climb a few notches up. You tend to do more things on the hidden job market. And the way that works is that you're not sitting there talking about how good you are. You're demonstrating how good you are firsthand. That's how the hidden job market works. People don't hire you because you've talked a good game. People hire you because you've demonstrated your worth and they see it and that's what they want. So, it's so much better in many ways. Not only is it, do you have much more positive, pleasant encounters with people, but you don't have to sit there and talk a good game. All you have to do is show what you're like and show how you interact with people and stuff like that, and what you know, and that's what gets you hired. So continue to apply for the posted job markets. You don't need a functional resume. I mean, you can do it, but my gut feeling is that a lot of human recruiters, when they see your resume, they will not like that because what's the one metric that recruiters care about? Years of experience. That's what they care about, right? And so they want to see dates. They want to see dates for everything. And if they don't see dates, they may not be as inclined to bring you in for an interview. Now, listen, my opinion doesn't matter. I'm making a guess, okay? So what you need to do is you need to prove it. Try a functional resume, apply for a bunch of jobs, and see if you get any bites, okay? Do an A-B kind of thing. That's the only way you're going to know for sure in your industry, in your region, to the employers that you're targeting that have to do with you and your background. I can't say what your results are going to be because I don't know any of those factors, right? And even if I did, it would just be a guess. So if you really feel that's the way forward, start trying it in a controlled way and see if your results improve. Now, if they don't, then I would say go back to the tried and true, which is the chronological resume, and persist with that. Keeping in mind that you don't have to put anything on there that's over 10 years. More than 5 years in the past, a lot of these idiot modern recruiters won't really care about. Certainly anything over 10 years. The only people that may care about that stuff are hiring managers because they actually know what's what when it comes to what's important and not, But if you're older, you're encountering ageism and it's a real issue for you, start doing stuff in the hidden job market, start doing some basic networking, and doing direct outreach, which you can do from your phone or your computer at home. You don't have to do anything. You just, it's incredible the results you can get if you know what you're doing and you've put everything in place. If you want, if you want to know my full kind of method of how to do that, I have it in this course. That's the best way to get it. Okay, so check that out. I also have some free stuff on my YouTube channel. I think I just mentioned this, but I have a playlist called How to Tap the Hidden Job Market. You can check that out. I did those videos years ago, but they're still relevant. And you add that to what you're doing, okay? And between the two of them, you're spreading a pretty wide net. Class, is that how you say that? Can one get a job that you are interested without any previous experience? Absolutely. It's called changing careers. Because I recently applied for a position in my field, but it's a supervisor position. Okay, well, supervisor, yes, I mean, that happens every day. How does one become a supervisor? Usually, you start out as a worker, and then you're promoted into a supervisor role. Now, when that happens, you don't have any previous supervisor experience, right? but you do have experience being the worker, being the people that you're supervising. So you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of, good judgment as to what the expectation should be from them and how to handle them and what they should be doing. So, you know what I mean? Like, that's usually how you do it. There are other ways too. I mean, I got hired, the first career job I had was a supervisor, and that was rough because I was supervising tradespeople, but I wasn't a tradesperson. So that's wonderful. I had an engineering degree, and that helped somewhat. But yeah, and you can change careers. You can have 25 years experience in accounting, and then you can apply for a job as, I don't know, an insurance salesman or a teacher or, a chemist even. I don't know. Like, I mean, a chemist, you would need like education in chemistry, obviously. But I mean, there's a lot of unrelated things you can jump to, that you've never actually done before. And you can get those jobs. It's called changing careers. People do this every day. But usually they don't go through a recruiter. They follow the method that's the same as getting a hidden job. People hire you, first of all, on not what's on your resume, not like by you talking a good game, which is how recruiters hire, but by sitting down with the hiring manager and they get a free sample of the value you deliver. You're not talking about how you're valuable, you're delivering valuable. You're delivering value. And that's how you get hired, and that's how you get how you can change careers, right? Can't change careers by going through recruiters. What's the first question that a recruiter is going to ask anybody when they say, okay, I'm applying for this job? I'd like this job. They're going to think, okay, now how many years of experience does this person have in the job? Well, the answer, of course, is 0 if you're changing careers. So their response is going to be, well, how can you possibly think that you're qualified for this if you've never done it before, right? That's how a recruiter thinks. And I should know. I taught recruiters in university. You know what I mean? But as we all know, we have a lot of capabilities, and some of us are very flexible and very trainable, and we have a lot of talent, and a lot of roles are not as challenging as a recruiter thinks they are. You know what I mean? I went back, I was asked to teach a class in university. I don't know why I keep mentioning that, but I was asked to teach a class. It started out with one class. I ended up teaching a bunch of them in university and business school. I never taught people in my life. I have no qualifications as a teacher. I'm just a subject matter expert. I've been a CEO, but they said, well, like after speaking with you, I mean, like, I know you can do this. I mean, you can certainly do this. You've given keynotes and things. So it's like, yeah, sure. And then I went back for 5 years and I started teaching, just on the side. That's called changing careers, So anyway, yes, the answer is yes, you can. Okay, but the method that you have to normally go through to make that happen is different. You can't just apply to a job, speak to a recruiter, and pass the screening, get the interview, pass the interview, get an offer. It usually doesn't work like that. If you're changing careers, you have to hack the system. You have to do what people do to get jobs on the hidden job market, where you go around all of that. You speak directly to a hiring manager in an unstructured way, right? And they see, hey, like after an hour talking to you about this industry or this area, I can tell you know your stuff. I can also tell that we get along really well. And I can see that you're very professional, very easy to deal with. You have great communication skills, and you're easy to talk to. You're very persuasive. So like listen. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to give you a shot because I think you'll be able to do it, right? They have a position. Maybe it's a low-level position. Maybe it's part-time. I'm going to give you a shot. You got it. And then once you're in, 6 months later, you've moved up. You're in like a full-time permanent position, on salary, and you start your meteoric rise in your second career. That's the typical way people make that happen. And I've done that. I did that for what it's worth. Even that teaching thing I just described followed that pattern. Yogi says, what are your favorite job hunting, networking, and interviewing books? I don't read books on that kind of stuff, to be honest with you. In terms of a book, the only book I would really read, if you haven't done so already, is that classic book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's the only book recommendation I'd have. Other than that, I would stick with biographies or autobiographies. They're both equally inaccurate, but they're the best things out there. They're better than like advice books, in general, right? Because it's very easy to have an opinion on something. It's a lot harder to have done it in a big way so that it's notable. It's notable enough for you to write an autobiography talking about it. You know what I mean? But the thing is, with the biographies and the autobiographies, they're not 100% accurate in general. And what you're reading is you're reading one data point. And that data point could not be typical, not could be average. It could be way out as a wild exception to the rule. That's usually what you're reading. So it's useful. You can pick up some tips, but just keep all that stuff in mind. Syed says automotive industry at service department. Okay, so that was for. Yeah, you had a question, right? Where was that? Service advisor. So I was asking about what types of experience I should have for a service advisor. I don't know. I mean, I'm not familiar with the automotive repair industry, service department. And I imagine also it varies by role, it varies by country. I can't give you the details on that. But what I can do is look, I don't know if this applies to people in that position, but a general rule is if you want to know what is required to be in a certain role, okay, go on LinkedIn. Now, you might need the premium version of LinkedIn to do this. If you do, get the free month of premium for free. Just say sure, and then cancel before the end of the month, and then you don't have to pay anything. And one of the things you get with the premium version of LinkedIn is you get sort of unlimited search, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to do a people search. You're going to limit it to your hometown, the city or region that you're currently located in, and you're going to enter the name of the role. So automotive service technician, whatever it is, automotive, whatever the title is, right? And you run that search, and then what it's going to find individuals. So the results are going to be people, right? And you can go and look at their profile, and they're either going to be in that job now, or they're going to be someone who's formerly been in that role, right? And you can see their profile, and their profile is essentially their resume. So you can see what education they have, what experience they have, what training they've had, if they've got certifications or something. You can see all that. Now, don't just look at one or two. Look at a whole bunch, 50, and see if you can notice a pattern. If every single one of these people that's in that role, they all have this certificate, then chances are you're going to need that certificate if you want to be in that role, right? If all of them don't have a university degree, or 90% of them don't have a university degree, then chances are you don't need a university degree to be in that role. You see what I'm saying? You're looking at real world results in your own city, or your own region. Right? Now, as an added bonus, what you could do then is you could then contact some of these people. You could reach out to them and say, listen, I understand you've been in this role, or you're currently in this role. I aspire to be in that role. And I was wondering, would I be able to have a quick phone call with you, or would I be able to come down and meet you just for 30 minutes, ask you some questions about, your journey and how you got into that role and what it's like, and, stuff like that, or get your expert opinion on it, something like that. And then that'll give you all the information you need. If you want to know the way in, if you sort of blanket those people with like a template message saying, you know, I'd very much like to speak with you about this role. I aspire to be in that role, and I was hoping I could get your expert opinion on it and where it's going, and you know, this kind of thing. Maybe 3 people, you can get informational interviews with 3 people. You go down there and you talk to them, and you know, they'll find it very flattering. It's like, oh, you want to learn from me? Okay, sure, I can tell you what I did, you know, and so you'll learn what they did, which is helpful, and then on top of it, you might even, you know, you've got networking connections for people in that role at different companies. You know, that might be useful too. So, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things you can do there. But I don't know all the details of that right off the top of my head. Allwin says, mostly job offers require us to join within 15 days, but notice periods are often 60 days. Join what? Allwin. What's the last thing you said? You said hi. Okay. So sorry, Alwyn, you got to give me some context here. I don't understand the question. Yogi says also, thank you for all the content you've created. Helped me last week, and I'm back. And I'm back again for more. Right on. Well, thanks, Yogi. Hopefully it's useful. And thanks for saying so. Alwyn, a first interview, what's your salary expectation? Should I dodge the question or wide range? Well, go watch my video on that. First of all, I just did a live stream all about that. Like I talked about salary for like an hour or something. So you can watch that, or you can watch the video I have on my channel that's gotten millions of views where I answer that. So go and watch that video, and that'll tell you exactly what to do. You're welcome, Mel. Vuyo says, hi, sir. What steps can you take when you're frequently progressing to interviews, but your only potential referee, your manager, is unwilling to provide a strong recommendation? That's typical. You see, the situation that most people are in is that they can't use their current employer as a reference because they don't want their current employer discovering that they're looking for another job, right? So that's the more typical situation. Now listen, you can't control other people. You only have control over yourself. You don't have control over other people. So if your boss or your manager or whatever is unwilling to provide a good recommendation for you, and that makes sense because they don't want you to leave, especially if you're a good employee. They are conflicted when, you know, a good employee is wanting to transfer out of the department internally. On the one hand, they might like you and want to help you on a personal level, but on the other hand, they don't want you to leave. If you leave, it causes them a big headache. They lose your experience, they lose your knowledge, you know, it creates a big vacancy, you know, big hole. That means everybody has to scramble to try and do your job somehow. And now they have the additional task of trying to find a replacement. You know what I mean? So they don't want you to leave. Their incentives are very much pushing them away from helping you to leave, right? So in a perfect world, they would sabotage you, but do it in such a way that you would never know that that's what they did, right? You know what I mean? That's if they were completely selfish. They were like a total sociopath. That's what they would do. Okay, so you do it without their help. You do it like any other person would. You know, not using their current employer. You have to rely entirely on references and recommendations from people outside your current employer. So you could go to a coworker. You could provide references to previous bosses and previous coworkers. If you have any subordinates, sometimes they ask for that. If it's a management type role, you know, but that's normally what people have to deal with. You just do it that way. Someone says, does looking for a part-time job make a bad impression on recruiters? It shouldn't, unless they're trying to hire for a full-time position and you say you only want part-time, then obviously that's not a fit, right? But not in general, no. Oh, Vuyo continues. And to follow up on my first question, are there ways to build credibility with potential employers without relying solely on a manager's reference? Well, obviously, yes, of course there are. If you're doing it in the hidden job market, it's not big. You see, when you go to job interviews and you go through recruiters, usually the way it works is that you're talking about how good you are. You're not giving them a free sample of how good you actually are. You're talking about how good you are, right? You've got all your stuff written down in your resume. You're answering job interview questions. You're just sitting there. You're not actually doing any work. You're not showing off your knowledge. You're just saying, no, trust me, I've got a lot of knowledge. And they say, well, prove it. And you say, like, well, I have worked here for 15 years and I have this accomplishment and, here's a reference from my boss. Like you're not actually demonstrating anything. Now, when you do stuff on the hidden job market, when you talk to hiring managers and stuff, that's where it's different. You're not actually talking about how good you are. You're demonstrating through your actions how good you are. You're giving them a free sample of what it's like to interact with you, what it's like to work with you, right? Okay? So that's how you build credibility. If you have a conversation about a hiring manager, the hiring manager is, if you get hired, they're your boss. That's who the hiring manager is, right? So let's pretend that you were a technician, right? And you're trying to get a job in the technician department of a company. And the person hiring, the hiring manager, is the lead technician or the technician manager, right? They supervise all the technicians. So whatever you call that role, it's going to have different titles, but that's who they are. They're like the chief technician. They supervise all the other technicians, right? And they run the technician department. So that's the person you would talk to. Now, if you have a technical conversation with them for an hour, where you talk all about, the nature of fixing equipment, the best techniques to fix equipment, the best tools, where this industry is going, some of the new tools and equipment that are coming down the pike in the future, what it's going to mean, right? How people are going to structure their work around, how it's going to change how they do their job, right? And you're talking about this stuff with the chief technician. They'll be able to see very quickly how good of a technician you probably are, because do you know your stuff or do you not know your stuff? Just by the nature of the questions you ask, it's on display how much you know and what your capabilities are. You know what I mean? If they ask you questions and you can answer any technical question, you say, have you dealt with this? You say, yeah, sure, I've dealt with that. I found that this is the best way to do it, blah, blah. It's like you're demonstrating your value. It's not like a job interview, okay? So you want to talk about credibility. That's the best thing to build credibility, right? Now, on top of that, let's pretend that you're friendly, you're approachable, you're easy to talk to, you're easy to deal with. It just clicks with them on a personal level. You guys feel like you've got a rapport, right? You dress appropriately, you're groomed appropriately, you look like you'd be a kick-ass technician, and you initiated the entire thing. You initiated this encounter. You reached out to them. You know exactly what to say. You were very persuasive, right? That's showing what your capabilities are. The entire thing is showing your capabilities. That's why this type of thing is so effective. That's why getting jobs that are not posted is the way it's always been done and the way it's always going to be done. It's very, very effective because your skills are on display firsthand. The key is being able to talk to the right person and being able to initiate the encounter, right? So once you know that, then you can do it. Now, I'm not trying to plug my own stuff, but incidentally, I got to capitalize on this and say, I put all the techniques to do that in here. So if you're interested in learning that with me, check out that course. There's a link in the description box below. Okay, but that's how you demonstrate credibility. Klaus says, thank you for your positive answer regarding my question. You're absolutely welcome, Klaus. And sorry if I'm bastardizing your name. It's not intentional. Someone says, you can tell them I usually learn fast to change careers. Okay, sure. Thank you for your answer. You're welcome, Syed. Okay, here we go. We got a channel member here. Sorry for the delay. Hi, sir. How are you keeping? I'm keeping great. I spilled a drink all over my lap during my earlier live stream today, so I managed to get myself cleaned up a bit, and I'm feeling better. If you remember, I'm contracting with a company, but my boss is wanting me to join direct. I'm getting 72 plus overtime money. He's saying 65 direct bonus and overtime. Well, what's the incentive for you joining them if he's trying to haggle you down? Like that's the obvious thing I'm wondering. I work a lot at the moment, around 12 hours, but now I'll be getting so less if I take direct. I'm aware I get benefits like pension and bonus, but 65. Okay, so they're giving you less cash, but like less direct pay, but you're getting more benefits and things. And presumably, hopefully, one would hope, you're getting more security. Your work is going to be less volatile because they can always stop sending you work at any moment if you're a contract employee. If you're a salaried employee that's receiving benefits, then it's slightly harder for them to dispense with you. You know what I mean? Now I get around 4 hours of bonus pay, so it's already 17% extra. How can I... listen, the numbers mean nothing to me because I don't know what your goals are. I don't know what your situation is. I don't know what the norms are for your industry in your country. I understand what you're saying, but just so you know, I can't make a call based on numbers. That's for you to decide. Some people, the benefits that they offer are worth a lot. You know what I mean? The reason why benefits are a thing is because the company can get them. They get a volume discount because they buy them in bulk, right? Whereas if you wanted to buy that benefit for yourself, you would not get that discount. So let me give you an example, okay? Something like, I don't know, life insurance, okay? You work for a big company, they go to the life insurance company, they walk into the office and they say, I want to buy 10,000 life insurance policies. And that could be $5,000 each or something. Bam, there you go. Right? So they pay $5,000. These are just throwaway numbers. Forget about the numbers, but I'm just using it as an example. They pay the life insurance company $5,000 for that particular life insurance policy, okay? Now, if you walked in through the front door of the life insurance company and you tried to buy a life insurance policy, the same policy, it would cost you $25,000 to get that life insurance policy, okay? You see, the company gets out a volume discount. Now, what they do is they say, if you work for us, if you're an employee of ours, what we're going to do is we'll pay you a salary, but we're also going to give you benefits, and one of the benefits is going to be a life insurance policy. So what they do is they take $7,000 out of your pay that year and give you a life insurance policy, right? Now, that life insurance policy is really worth $25,000. That's what it would cost you if you tried to buy that by yourself, right? But they're deducting $7,000 from your pay and they're giving it to you. Okay, so it only cost you $7,000, right? They got it. They paid $5,000 for it. They're charging you $7,000 for it to cover their administration fees and all that kind of stuff, and their risk and all this kind of thing. But you still get a very, very good deal on it. Now, some people don't care about the benefits because they're not going to use them. So you just lost $7,000 and got something that you don't give a rat's ass about. You know what I mean? Other people, they really would have wanted that. They would have gone out and bought that themselves for $25,000, normally. But because they're getting it as a benefit, they're getting a really good deal on it. And in that case, the benefit makes a lot of sense for them, right? So that's why companies like benefits. There's two reasons why they like benefits. That's one, is they can offer you value, right? Instead of paying you $25,000 in cash, instead, they're going to give you the equivalent in a life insurance policy, but it's only going to cost them $7,000, right? So that's why they like it. They can give you more value if they're giving it in the form of benefits, right? And that tends to attract a lot of talent, right? The other reason they like benefits is because it's hard. If you're using the benefits, it's something that keeps you there. It makes you not want to leave. So if you're a valuable employee, they don't want you to leave. The good benefit package can convince you to stay, right? So those are the two reasons why they like benefits, right? So in your situation, if they're giving you benefits and they're giving you like a pension and all this kind of stuff, do you care about that? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. For some people, that would be worth a lot. For other people, it would be worth zero. So, that's a consideration, right? Now, a bonus, okay, they give you a bonus. A bonus means like performance pay. So that's something that you could get, but it's not guaranteed that you're going to get, right? Remember, that's what the bonus means. And depending on how trustworthy the company is, sometimes they can play tricks with that. They can set the bar very, very high so you can't achieve it. And then you work like a dog trying to achieve it. And they go, oh, sorry, you didn't actually achieve it. So you get zero, so no bonus, right? It is possible to abuse that. Sometimes you can really clean up on it. So once again, how much do you trust the company? If they're trying to really haggle you on this, I would say that it doesn't look good, You know what I mean? So as a contract employee, in theory, you should be able to make more money than you will as a regular employee because they are not taking on any of the risk to employ you, right? They can dump you instantly the moment the economy turns or sales are down, you know what I mean? Whereas if you're an employee, they're kind of stuck with you unless they want to do rounds of layoffs, and that has a lot of negative consequences for them. Okay, so there's a lot of factors here. You really have to decide where you sit on a lot of these factors, okay? And only then are you going to get like a clear idea of what might make sense for you. Okay, now I said all that. Now we get to the rest of this. It says, how can I convince him to bring up higher? I have a PhD level 10. I don't know what the level 10 is. My colleagues are, employee level 8, okay. Bachelor's, so I need to make sure that I get in right in a good way with him. He asked me my number. He's saying after 65, I get company benefits. My point is that's the only reason I'm considering the job, but he's trying to save costs by not involving a contractor. For him, it's more cost savings. Well, yeah. For him, it might be, but for you, all things being equal, in a perfect world, you will get less by being an employee because you have more security as being an employee because you're passing the risk on to the company. As opposed to being a contractor, you take the full risk of the volatility of maybe they don't hire you this quarter or something, I feel no benefit in this at the moment. Very tricky situation. Summary, I'm getting 72 overtime. He's like, now listen, what are you asking about? Are you asking about whether you should take the deal or are you asking about how you should turn him down? Because those are two different things, right? So what I would do is, listen, I don't know what relationship you have with this person. What I would try and do is, if you feel that saying no is going to harm your working relationship or something, or you fear that he might take a reprisal against you, if you turn down this offer of being an employee, you feel he's going to punish you by saying, okay, fine, then no more contract work. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? That's in order to know what this person is likely to do, you have to get more information on their situation, right? Because without really knowing any information on what their position is, you don't know what they're liable to do. They could do one or they could do the other. It's hard to plan, You don't want to take it out of fear, But the fact that he's wanting you to be an employee suggests that he finds you important. And you might not be essential, but you're certainly very important. You know what I'm saying? So it's probably an empty threat that they're going to like dump you completely. But then again, it's still possible. So you say, no, not really. I don't worry about benefits. I'm in a proper corporate American company. Company is very well known, one of the top. Okay. How to negotiate and turn him down and bring him up. Okay. I want to bring him up. Okay. So you want to learn how to negotiate, basically. Okay. Well, look, negotiation is a huge topic. I can't really give you the answer in like 2 minutes and how to do all this stuff. But, hopefully you know the basics. Like you're going to agree to some things. You're going to even give a few concessions, right? But then you can turn around and you can ask for more for some other things, right? So what's the sticking point? Is the sticking point the 65? So if you say like, look, your deal is perfect the way you've written it. I have no issue with any of the benefits, any of the conditions. I can start whenever you want. I'll be happy to do this. I think this is really great. What I need in return is I need you to change this number to this. If that's the sticking point. Or if you're willing to accept 65, you say like, how about a signing bonus, or how about a retention bonus, or something like that. You know what I mean? You can propose things. So whatever it is that's the issue with you, whichever one or two of these that you'd like to change, you can do it that way. You want to approach him in a very agreeable way. You don't want to like play hardball in the sense that you're going to be very adversarial and contrary. You want to approach this with like, yes, I would love to make this work. My answer is a conditional yes. Absolutely. Let's do this. If you can change it to 72, we got a deal, and I can start wherever you want. And I will even throw in a bonus. I'll give you this, So let me know if that works, If you say yes, we can get rolling on this because I'm all for it, Something like that. I mean, that's the way I would approach it. It's not about saying no. It's about saying yes and then giving your condition. What would it take? Right? So I mean, I know the situation, but that's how I would generally approach these things. Does that make sense? Okay, so Alwyn says, context. If I get the job and HR asks me to join immediately, and my current employer requires me to work for 60 days. Yeah, well, you can get out of those. You can get out of the notice period. What you need to do, Alwyn, is you need to find out in your region what the law says about notice. Because, put it this way, where I am in Canada, in my particular region of Canada, what it says is that if you work for an employer for less than 30 days, you don't have to give any notice. If you work for between 30 days and a year, you have to give 1 week's notice. If you work between 1 year and, I think it's like 10 years, you have to give 2 weeks notice. If you work between 10 years and 25 years, you have to give 3 weeks notice, and so on, right? If you work for more than 25 years, you got to give like 4 weeks notice. So that's obviously going to vary between countries and between regions of a country. You need to find out with a Google search, or even just talk to ChatGPT or something and say, in this country, in this region, what is the law for the notice period? What am I required to do by law? And the way it usually works is that notice periods, you don't have to honor them. Now, there are consequences. Maybe they dock you pay, but you don't, what if you're sick? What if something comes along? That happens all the time. And, sometimes a lot of organizations will pay you in lieu of notice. Twice in my career, I've been marched out of a building because I gave notice and said, I'm leaving. And so they said, okay, right, clean out your desk. And, they were with me and they marched me right out of the building, like within the hour, and you don't come back. We will pay you as if you worked your notice period, but we don't want you back. You're gone. So, find out what the law says in your region, and then you'll be forearmed as to know what to do. If you want to take this job, a notice period from your existing employer shouldn't prevent you from being able to take it. It's just that there might be some minor consequences, like they maybe dock you whatever pay it is in your last paycheck or whatever, something like that. Okay. Okay. So, Gopinath says, yes, sir, I will get this right tomorrow. Wish me luck. My number is 82. I had another offer, 75, just turned down between buying ethics, the same company, but different site. This site where I'm in, it's crazy amount of work. And yeah, like, listen, it's obvious that you've got some mitigating circumstances, right? And you've got some requirements, and it's good that you're sort of working through this. You need to understand what your requirements are. You need to really pin it down in terms of like numbers. I need this, or if I can't get that, I need this. This is non-negotiable, but this is negotiable. But if I can't get that, then I need this instead. You need to really figure out what your position is. Now, once you've done that, the way to present it is, like I said, just very positive. You're very happy that they have made this offer. They've extended this offer. You're very flattered. You're very excited about it. The answer is yes, but you have some minor tweaks. There are some things in the offer that are, worse than what you'd have liked to see. There's some things in the offer that it's actually a step down for you, but there are some other things in the offer that are good. And, if they can sort of make a couple of tweaks, then let's do this, right? Like that's the best attitude to have in terms of how to present it, And you present it as if it's like a yes. It's already happened. Like, I've already agreed to it. Absolutely. I'm really excited about this. The answer is yes. Now we do need to go through some of the details right now, because I'm taking a step down in a couple of areas. And then this is what you need. And then if the answer is, if they can make those changes, then you can start whenever they want, and you'll be really excited about it. So it's just as simple as that, And remember, you're presenting these things not as like, you're wanting this, but you need it, You're a contractor. You have freedoms. You have freedoms to work with different people and do what you want. You know what I mean? You'll be giving that up as an employee. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you don't just throw that away. One of the things about being independent is that you can do whatever the hell you damn well please on your own schedule, And that's valuable. That's important, So if someone is going to like bring you into the fold and like impose all these restrictive rules on you because you're an employee once again, you know what I mean? Like, you need to be compensated for that. It's just that simple. Listen, best of luck, Gopinath. Always go in with like a very positive attitude. Things tend to go easier, and the way you're going to bring up negative stuff is you're going to say, listen, this, okay, let's go through some of the details. Now, this is a step down for me. I'm used to this. Right now, I'm getting this. Now, you're offering this, okay? But you know what? It's okay. I'll let that go. That I can live with. Okay? This other thing. Okay, you give me this much vacation a year or whatever. Quite honestly, I was using double that, up till now. So I'm going to take a bit of a hit in that department. I'm going to have less vacation time, But you know what? I like working with you guys, and I'm really excited about this. So you know what? I'll take that hit. That's fine. This is good. That's good. This is good. That's good. This is good. That's good. But this, I need that change to this. Okay, that's non-negotiable. I need that. Okay, because I'm essentially making that right now. I don't want to take a step down there too. Okay, and I need that for whatever reasons. I have a family support, blah blah blah. So I can't take a reduction here. I just can't. Right now, I'm giving you the vacation. I'm giving you this, and I'm giving you that. I need this. And then we can make this work. And as soon as you agree to that, that's all my demands. Then we can sign this, and we can pull the trigger. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the attitude, right? Now, if they say no to that, think about that in advance. Is there some substitute you could ask for in return? And if they say no, what you're wanting to do is you want to make sure that it's painful for them in that it lengthens the process. Okay, so you don't do this in real time, face to face. You do it over email where it's going back and forth, at least a day between each, sort of iteration, right? So that, the more they want to push back, the more time it's taking, So it's directly painful for them the more they push back. At a certain point, a lot of hiring managers will say, screw it, just whatever. Just give the guy what he wants, and then we can just end this and get rolling on, having him in here, So you want to take advantage of that. Anyway, hopefully that helps. I wish you the best of luck with that. Go Panav. And thanks for being a member. I've been wanting to do some camera tests that I'm going to release as members-only videos. I'm going to try and do, like I was talking about, I'm updating all my technology this year. So I was wanting to do a new round of like videos that are fully edited and everything, and I got some new camera equipment and stuff like that. So I was going to do those and release those as members-only videos. They're more than just camera tests. They're going to be me talking about something real, but there you go. Let's see here. In this site where it's a crazy amount of work. It's 7, finish at 7 almost every day. Yeah, like, you're paying for it, so you need to be compensated. If it's 8-hour job, I will agree for 75. It's a 12-hour job. 12 hours. Thank you. Always so positive. Need all your energy tomorrow morning. Okay, well, best of luck to you. Sometimes it can help. Like, I know this sounds idiotic, but it can actually help to smile, Just when you're in the thick of it with them, you tend to like, kind of, it's just like, it's really tense and you're really worried and you're really angry or, whatever. It just helps if you just like, try and just chill out, take a break, Don't allow yourself to be put on the spot, right? If they propose something, the answer is always going to be like, well, I'll need some time to think about it, right? People love to like put you on the spot, to like come up with some new proposal and say, here, it's like, okay, no problem. That's great. I'm going to need some time to mull this over, like to familiarize myself with it and think about it. So, you can at least do me the courtesy of giving me like 2 or 3 days. I'll have an answer for you. It's been happening the past 2 months. That's because he always calls me after he gets a bill from my contractor, okay? He always calls me, and whatever my contractor sends him a bill, he sees my hours and how much I'm paid, so he's trying to remove contractor from the picture. Yeah. Is this a company policy, or is this like just this manager trying to hire one of his contractors? Because that may be relevant if it's part of a larger company policy to do this. Anyway, we have 21 people here. Get in the chat. Let me know if you have any questions about job search. I'm here to answer all your questions about job search. If you are encountering problems in your job search campaign, and maybe there's a bit of confusion as to what to do or how things work, let me know, and I'm here to help you out. That's what these are for. I will be winding this down shortly, so kind of speak now or forever hold your peace kind of thing. The manager is trying to hire me and keep my contractor away. Okay. So he saves on that commission. Yeah, so it sounds like it's just the manager. It's not a company-wide policy. Yeah, it's kind of also kind of a slimy thing too, because you have to pay people to bring them in-house. I mean, he's trying to get the best of both worlds. He's trying to get you, but then he's trying to pay you less. You know what I mean? Like, Usually it doesn't work like that, Anyway, get in the chat. I will be signing off in about 30 seconds if I don't get any more questions. In the meantime, check out my courses. If you're looking to get hired, check out this course, very popular course. A lot of people have taken it, a lot of positive reviews. It's helped a lot of people. It will get you, or it will help you to get hired in the posted job market and in the hidden job market. If you're just looking to learn about networking and what you can do as an introvert to do networking and really open up a lot of career opportunities for yourself, check out that course. That's where it's at. There's a link in the description below. It's all my advice in one place, including quite a lot of stuff that I've never mentioned on my YouTube channel for, and I've had my YouTube channel for like 5 years or whatever. Also, people might be interested in this. This is communication skills. If you are looking to learn above average communication skills, check out that course right there. If I can point my finger in the right direction. It's called Write Like a Professional, but it's basically about what to say, what to communicate. And it'll help you with writing, but it'll help you with a lot of other things. Everything that I learned from being a supervisor all the way to being a CEO in terms of communication skills, I put there. So that's what that is. Link in the description below to check that out. And I've also done videos that are like FAQ videos on all of these. So in the interest of transparency, you get answers to exactly how these courses work, what you get, what the structure is, all that kind of stuff. And you can check all that out, in free videos before you decide what to do, and pull the trigger. Excuse me. So, yeah. And then the final one that maybe some people are interested in here, if you want to learn business, you can check that out, the $100 MBA. I have an MBA, and I created that course a few years ago. It teaches you everything that you will learn in an MBA program because you're getting it from the same source material. I was back in academia for a few years. A lot of courses are taught out of books these days, even more so than they were 30 years ago. And, instead of having a professor read a book to you, essentially, you can just get the book off Amazon, the same book that they use in universities and MBA programs in places like Harvard Business School in their MBA program, and you can read it yourself, and it's a self-study thing. So my course is a self-study thing. That's exactly how you do it. It's more of a program than a single course, and you learn everything that you would learn in a brick-and-mortar university MBA program for $100. The catch is that it's self-study. But the good thing is that there are no exams, no assignments, no evaluations. So you can go really deep and you can do all kinds of case studies and all kinds of practice problems and do that if you want. But if you don't want to, you just want to skim the material, you can do that too and get a sort of very cursory overview of everything in a very short amount of time if that's what you're going for. So a lot of people that have been entrepreneurs and stuff, they like this because it gives you the business knowledge, the legitimate business knowledge, right? Not the sort of fluff they pass off on the internet, on YouTube channels, for example, but the actual knowledge that's peer-reviewed and taught in universities. You get that for $100, and then you can get your books used off Amazon if you wish. You could pay $5 a book if that's what you want to do. So that's been a very popular course too. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, check out this course. Link in the description below. Okay, I'm not getting a lot of questions. I'm just going to wrap up with Gopinath here. If I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. He always calls me whenever the contractor, manager trying to hire me, so he saves on the commission. I always avoid the conversation because he never came up with the number. He came up with a number yesterday, and he kept asking me yesterday and today. I said, I need to work out my math. Okay, thank you, sir. I don't want to ask more on this. Many are there. I will let them use your expertise. What you do to job search community is awesome. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, listen. The way these work, as I'm sure you are aware, Gopinath, is that, people will make an opening bid, but that's usually far from their final bid. And if we're talking about like bumping it up 5%, 10%, that's really not that much of a stretch, all things being equal. So I would not be surprised to hear that he could go higher than that. I mean, listen, I don't know, but that's just my gut feeling. If he came up with a number off the top of his head yesterday, it probably is not set in stone. And usually in situations like this, people can negotiate a bit. They have some leeway, right? It doesn't sound like a company-wide policy. It doesn't sound like anything very rigid where his hands are tied. He's kind of doing his own thing. He's making a deal. So it's almost expected that you would try and tweak the deal a little, right? So anyway, I already said how I would approach it. So hopefully that makes sense. Just go in there, be positive, and you'll be fine. Remember, the answer is yes with conditions. Okay? Give them a bunch of concessions and then state your conditions, your requirements. You're going to need this bumped up. You're going to need that bumped up. And then you got a deal. You can get rolling on this and make it happen. Thanks to Gopinath. Thanks to Vuyo G, saying some nice things. Thanks to everybody who participated. You guys are awesome. Always remember, you are awesome. You are valuable. You are employable. This is a temporary condition if you are between jobs. Doesn't feel temporary, but it is. Okay? Learn all you can. Do your best. Always look forward. And if you're not really getting anywhere fast in the post-job market, consider adding some activities in the hidden job market to your job search campaign. Look there also. Be doing things that go for those jobs, because that's a gold mine. Okay? I will be back on Friday to do more live streams. Check out my courses if you want to really do some learning with me. Check out the free stuff I have on my YouTube channel. And take care of yourselves. I will see you guys soon. Best of luck.